this is a big problem. Now, the CIA fucks up when you lose the confidence of the boss. So this is a huge issue.
It's a massive issue. This is why you hear so many people, every election cycle, you will hear people talk about intelligence reform. This is what they're talking about.
Well, question though, sorry.
So intelligence reform is the idea that we need to reform the way that we do intelligence.
Right.
Everything from our promotions process all the way through to our sharing process, to our analytical process, because what the American people trust to be a functioning, efficient vehicle, we actually call on the inside, we call it a sandbox. Because when you put kids into a sandbox, the most important thing is that they play nice with each other.
If you guys aren't getting along, then we get 9/11.
Right, that's right. And the whole getting along thing becomes a cultural challenge, because now if you're a 27-year-old go-getter and you don't get along with the old guard, then they're going to start holding you back, and then you never develop until you just punch out. And that's good for them because they want more of the old guard.
Right. Real quick on this reform, how would you reform it? And this might be a longer question, but how do you create a system that puts forward the most efficacious data and intelligence while at the same time doesn't alienate the boss of the organization, which is the president?
Yeah. So there has to be there's checks and balances already in place. That's how the federal government, that's how our democracy works, is with checks and balances.
Yep.
Being able to institute checks and balances where, let's say you're a junior officer, you make a recommendation, your senior officer doesn't accept your recommendation, but there is some kind of documented process that you made what you said, right? Then no matter how the intelligence plays out in the future, it can actually be audited back to what the junior officer said. Then you end up having this thing, you have an incentive for junior officers to say, this is what I'm assessing. And you have an incentive for senior officers to listen to them.
Because it's documented.
But what happens now instead is literally senior officers change junior officer reports.
Wow.
So I will write a report, I will send it to my middle manager will rewrite my report with what he thinks is important on top of what I did before it goes to you.
And what's the justification for that? Because there must be.
Because the idea is that the more touch points, the more it will be refined by people who have more experience.
So they think it's refined, but in reality, it's a game of telephone. And what happens with the game of telephone is the information changes by the time it reaches.
And there's no accountability up at the top.